Yes, thank you, Harni. Thank you, Andres. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar. It is a great honor and a great pleasure for me to welcome you all today in our event. Thank you for Dr. Ramírez for taking the time to talk to us about your topic. It is indeed a very interesting topic. I think we can all agree that that the parent or home is the first school to their children, right? So their position and contribution is very significant for their children's success. And what makes the thing more interesting or more complicated is that in Indonesian context, there are also many instances where the parents do not speak Indonesian as their first language or their mother tongue. So for them, is in Bahasa Indonesia or Indonesian language is also second language. So I think there will be some similarities with the Indonesian context and also the context which Professor Ramírez will be talking to us today. So therefore, we are very excited and very delighted to hear Professor Ramírez talk about this topic. And I also see in the participants we have here students. So I expect that you can ask Professor Ramírez, things regarding your interest or maybe your research proposal. Yeah, I think it will be a fruitful discussion. So. Without further ado, I wish you all a pleasant discussion. Thank you. Ari.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia, for the opening remark. And before we hear the presentation from Professor Ramírez, so we should make a photo session. Please turn up your camera and give your big smile. Mbak Regina, can you help us, please, with the screenshot?
Okay. I'm gonna take 2 or 3 pictures. So, 1, 2, 3. Sebentar ya. Sekali lagi. Okay. Okay, smile everyone. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Regina, and everyone for your lovely smile. Okay, before we move to our main agenda, I like to remind you to mute your microphone. If you have any question during the presentation, please write it down in the chat box or just keep it in mind and you can ask it directly after the presentation of Professor Ramírez. And now allow me to introduce our speaker, Professor Ramírez, or Dr. Ramírez. He is a tenured associate professor in the Department of Curriculum, Culture, and Educational Inquiry, Florida Atlantic University, the United States of America. His works focus on bilingual education, literacy, and genre pedagogy, among others. Some of his latest publications are a language-based theory of learning in the disciplines and for acting in social life. It was published this year. And about reading to learn program and the case for culturally and linguistically relevant pedagogy, bilingual reading to learn for Spanish speaking immigrant mothers, and many more. Now let us listen to the presentation of Dr. Ramírez with the title Guidance Through Multilingual Interaction in the Context of Shared Experience. Dr. Ramírez, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ari, and everybody, especially to Dr. Kartika, who invited me, a great friend, a great scholar, and hopefully you can find this entertaining and also insightful. So let me share my screen to begin. And okay, so here we go. Okay. Can you confirm, please, that you're seeing my screen? Thank you very much. So my talk is it's inspired by the genre pedagogy guiding principle that is called guidance through interaction in the context of a shared experience. But what we are trying to do here with the help of Dr. Harni Kartika is this idea of what happens with guidance through multilingual interaction in the context of a shared experience. In my context, in the United States, there are many immigrants that come with only one language, Spanish specifically, and they are faced with the challenge to guide their children who actually begin to learn in schools for the most part in English. This causes a problem in parenting, and the mothers begin to feel disenfranchised as their kids begin to learn in English and begin to actually know more language than they do. Sometimes the mothers tell me, how can I teach them if they know more than I do? And this is a call for all mothers to realize that children don't know more than what you do, that mothers actually have a lot to give. And also to remind people that, as we were commenting before, that parents are, of course, the first teachers of their children. The problem is that nobody teaches them how to teach their children. So we are trying to promote this idea of guidance through multilingual interaction in the context of a shared experience, following the genre-based pedagogy that informs it. First of all, we need to talk about Michael Halliday and what he said about Basil Bernstein, who's the main ideology behind, the main principle behind. And he basically, Halliday tells us that from Bernstein, he learned that linguistics is and cannot be other than an ideological committed form of social action. In other words, we need to have linguistics for the people, linguistics for something, for a specific problem. And here the problem that we are dealing with is the specific of giving or providing paths, academic literacy paths for students, for all students, regardless of their first language. Today, I'm going to talk about two specific things in my research. I'm going to talk about parents being learners and also as parents being teachers. The context of my research is this family literacy program where immigrant mothers actually go to not only to learn English, but also to learn about the specific services that are around the community for their children and for themselves. So this is a safe and enjoyable pattern and teaching children-friendly space. Monolingual English teacher with Spanish-speaking aid is in charge. It's basically a traditional grammar and survival English. It's like a lot of the verb to be and things like that we are familiar with. Perhaps the way we ourselves learn English, especially in places where English is not spoken as the first language or even as a foreign language on a normal basis. There are content-based tasks attempted, but as we will see, there's no enough content-based. It's based more on language, and also focus on goods and services in the community, Spanish translation. So we're going to focus a little bit on this idea of the content-based tasks attempted. So in terms of parents as learners, I don't want to start this without showing you an example of what can that be. So in this case, there's a guidance through multilingual interaction in the context of a shared experience in which I am teaching the parents what the genre that they are, or the text that they are dealing with. Let me come back to, I don't know what I did. So when dark. Excuse me. Okay, I found it. So I'm going to share again. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to share again. I need to share with with sound. Okay. So right here, I am with the mothers, guiding them through the kind of learning that they need themselves to be able to teach their kids.
The school and into the long run.
Okay, very good. Ahora le empezamos a hacer preguntitas. O who Zoom past the school? Who?
The father,
Father,
mother,
and mother, and Trixie.
and Tracy.
Okay. Okay, so as you could see, there's interaction there that is in Spanish and in English. It's very purposeful, and that's the key here. It's not just at any time, but it's important that you could see that the text that they are working with is in English, but the interaction could be in Spanish, so that we are actually using the linguistic funds of knowledge of the students, meaning their native language, as an important resource for them to progress. Then, if you take a look here, it is the same activity that the mothers experience themselves now with their kids at home.
Escuchen, miren acá. Who soon passed the school? Repita. Dime.
El papá de la niña y la niña.
Muy bien.
Con su cana fue para
Muy bien.
Miss Lenka.
Muy bien.
Okay, so right here, this is an activity that is done with emergent. Yeah, thank you. That is done with emergent children that are at the very beginning or initial steps of learning to read. The reason why we do these focus questions are actually to really make sure that students that the kids are understanding what the parent is asking them. This is a methodology that is based on reinforcement, on positive reinforcement. And in fact, when I teach my students this, what kind of questions to ask, I tell them that we should not ask questions like "what is in my mind" kind of questions, but the question should be right there in the text. So as you could see, she actually asked very specifically, who Zoom passed the school? And because the students already had received a preparing to read, they already knew what the answer basically. So she was the girl is able to say without any doubt the dad's mother, the dad's girl, and the girl, right? So they were represented in the sentence by they. So then the mother said, "Okay, very good. Let's cut they." So what they do is to cut the parts, or all the parts, and then to work with that, because it goes from whole to part. Okay, in this case. So one of the things that I want to tell you with in terms of that is guiding my presentation today is that first and second language literacy have been dominated by at least two methodological streams. So let's talk about those. The first one is in Spanish, it's called dos extremos metodológicos. So it's two methodological extremes. Number one is bottom-up or synthetic aspects, and these are based on formal aspects of the sound, so of the language. For example, letter sounds, correspondence, and it goes only up to words, maybe. So this is focused on the fragmented learning on linguistic structures like letters, correspondence, and even syllables, but without the content included. So, for example, in Spanish, you could have, I don't know about Indonesian or the other languages that you are familiar with, but in Spanish, it's by syllables. So, for example, the CA that you see in the middle is supposed to build a word connected with all the other on the side. Okay, so for example, pica or capa or saca or casa, etc. So it's the syllabic idea. In English, you have this idea of the phonemes, you know, what you hear, the graphemes, the correspondence, and then the letters, right? So this is what is called a bottom-up or synthetic alphabetic idea. So bottom-up synthetic methods specifically begin from part to whole, right? So the formal structure is the entry point in this case. Unfortunately, this leads to a segmented pedagogy not integrated with semantic units, because the units, for example, the p or the k or the t, does not have any connection with the meaning or with semantic units. This actually is seen in teaching English as a second or foreign language. This is a very common exercise, let's say, or kind of idea. And just so that you know what I'm talking about, right here we have the use of morphology, use of the past, as you can see in the vocabulary, where it says active grammar on the top, on the textbook. Those are like how to form the past, right? So we're talking about morphology, use of the past in terms of vocabulary, and then just in the same the next exercise out of vocabulary. Now you're supposed to speak, and not only that, but now you're ready for writing. So as you could see, these if we think about language as a ladder that should be built, the idea here is to actually, the premise is that with words or with letter sounds and words, you're now able to complete texts in speaking and in writing, right? So this is what I am calling the problem with these kind of ideas. The other extreme, the methodological stream, is the analytic or global method. The analytic or global method is based on semantic units. Yes, it's based on meaning. So usually based on, for example, on words, right? So sight words that so your unit is the lexis or the words, or the unit is the phrase, or even the unit could be the text, the whole text, because those are semantic units. But it's focused on global semantic units without an explicit emphasis on structural units of language. So it's the other extreme, right? And here, this is actually a quote from an English textbook, Obando, Combs, and Collier. Basically, what it says there is that the global or whole language emphasize a look at the meaning, because they say the parts are learned naturally later. Naturally, the parts are learned naturally later. I have a lot of pushback against this idea, because we know that those parts are not naturally learned later. This is encoded in the natural language, for example, methodology of the natural approach of Stephen Krashen, etc. That is very, very common. It has been very common in our circles of foreign language education, and also in first language education. To tell you what this looks like in Spanish, for example, we have here a textbook, a real textbook, in which there's it's described. They are describing the informative texts, and as you can see right there on the upper corner, it says it's just a description about the informative text. That's it, and it's supposed to be now. With that description, they are actually supposedly ready for independent writing on the focus genre. Like, sorry, but this is not teaching writing. They are told to write, but they're not teaching. This is not teaching writing at all. In second language acquisition, second language, foreign language pedagogy, the same happens. So yeah, you start with the genre. You start with a big unit, semantic unit as a reading in this case, and then it asks them in number 2 or to write an email. Now it's like, okay, you have the example. Now you have everything ready to go and do this. This is highly ineffective, I would say. So if we think about the language as a ladder, this is based on meaning, but the meaning, the word, the phrase, or the text is the starting point. However, this pedagogy is invisible, not integrated with formal structures of language. Basically, you talk about complete texts, but you don't give enough for the students to try to get there. In the words of my great colleague, Claire Acevedo, who actually provided this example, this metaphor, I found it really, really compelling. Traditional pedagogy or progressive pedagogy, even if you talk about student-centered or learning or teaching-centered, I feel that is a false dichotomy. Because what is hidden and what is invisible, and this is Basil Bernstein's most important contribution, I would say, that Halliday and systemic functional linguistics have been trying to work on, is that the hidden curriculum is invisible and the reading and writing is invisible. So what we need to do is to have a different approach to this. This different approach in our idea is called systemic functional linguistics. Meanwhile, while we have these two things going on, these two extremes, meanwhile we have had for more than 40 years a language-based theory of learning proposed by Halliday, in which actually they say, or Halliday and systemic functional linguistics tell us that learning language is learning language, learning about language, and learning through language. All three at the same time. In foreign or second language acquisition, this has resulted, however, in a big focus on learning about language. I don't know about you, but a lot of people have told me that they've studied another language in college or in school, and they know only rules and grammar rules and stuff like that, but they don't know how to communicate. This is maybe different in the context of Indonesia, but it is certainly very, very. You might connect it in some way that you find more relevant. This is what I see in many other places. So Systemic functional linguistics sees language as a stratified system, one that operates at three levels simultaneously, as patterns within the text or discourse, as patterns within the sentence of grammar, as patterns within the word or spelling, right? And we contend that in order to teach this really complex system, we need a pedagogy that integrates all these parts into a coherent whole that starts with reading, in our case, and finishes up with writing. In other words, there's not the reading curriculum or the writing curriculum, but it's the reading writing curriculum, because we are using reading as an impetus, as a model for the writing that we do always. And this is within the context or the principle of guidance through interaction in the context of a shared experience. This it's called reading to learn, and reading to learn has this idea in terms of reading and writing, and a progression that is hopefully you will find we can talk more about it, but it's a progression that is it's already set up for that. So based on genre-based pedagogy or systemic functional linguistics, we can relate reading to learn at any of the spheres of this. We were talking about the language as a stratified system. So at the bigger contextual level, context, we actually begin in reading to learn as preparing the students for that reading. So it doesn't become an assessment task, because if you think about it, when you provide when we as teachers provide a text for students and we tell them read and then answer these questions, that is not a reading activity. It's actually an assessment activity. We are trying to find out what they got from that. What we are trying to do is to basically tell the teachers we could not expect anything from students that we have not done with them. So this is very, very important, and it actually signifies a departure from other pedagogies. So because this pedagogy front loads the content. It's not a mystery. It's not that the students have to figure it out by themselves. We are truly, as teachers, preparing the material for them. Now, you might ask, but how much to prepare? Well, at the very beginning, a lot. So this is a initially robust support system, so that they can do what Vygotsky said. What they can do with us now, they can do by themselves later. So it's absolutely essential to have the conception that it is working towards independence. But you cannot work towards independence if you have not shown them the hidden curriculum, or what I was talking about, the hidden part of the iceberg before, how language functions for reading and writing in this case. So we are very, very specific here about the genre, the field, the mode. What is it about? What kind of relationship is setting up? Then we go into tenor, discourse, semantics. In that case, with detailed reading, like really, really beginning to engage the students at a more detailed level. Then with the grammar and lexis that the text provides, and then for that we have sentence making. For graphology and phonology, we have spelling, and then we come back to the writing task as joint rewriting for discourse semantics, to finally go into a joint rewriting, and finally joint construction. So this is a highly supportive environment for the students at the very beginning. The whole exchange is based on interpersonal discourse semantics, which is advanced by Dr. Jim Martin, and the negotiation idea. This negotiation basically is the idea that we negotiate resources for making meaning, right? However, the problem is that here here we have exchange roles, moves, and exchanges, roles, and moves. For example, if I tell Dr. Katika, what's the audience for today's presentation? Then she might say, oh, we have pre-service teachers, professors, and other interest people, or mothers, let's say, right? So right here we have an interaction and knowledge exchange. But we could have also an action exchange, like, for example, the police officer says, all rise, and then the audience stands up. That's action, more than knowledge. But the thing here is that a pedagogic exchange is very, very different, because pedagogic exchanges are unusual in that the teacher is usually the one with the knowledge for students to acquire. So you're not really asking questions to know things, but you are asking display questions. So teacher asks questions for students to display their knowledge, but the response are almost evaluated. So in this case, look at this exchange. So I know the answer. I'm not looking for the answer, but I am asking Dr. Katika, what's the audience for today's presentation? And then she says, well, we have pre-service teachers, professors, and other interest people. And then I say, excellent answer, beautiful. You know, I am evaluating, what I'm evaluating there? Maybe her pronunciation, maybe that she was right. I don't know that but it is very different, right? So anyway, what about, we have these resources, but what about in a bilingual pedagogic exchange? What happens with a multilingual pedagogic exchange? How does this, and this is why Dr. Kartika's work is so important, because she's already told us how to model these based on Rose 2018. So instead of modality shift, she actually came up with this idea of language shift. And in this case, in her dissertation, she's been, and other publications, I'm not going to talk more about this because you have the expert there. So you could actually absolutely go in and ask her more about this. But what I wanted to show you is that a bilingual exchange is very different from others. With that, I'll just stop there on this part and tell you that Reading to Learn is based on the teaching learning cycle, in which we prepare for reading, always prepare for reading. So we're not asking the students, what do you know or something, but we're preparing them. And then not only are we preparing them, but we are jointly constructing with them. And then, only then, when we are sure, then we go into independent construction. What I showed you before is this. Preparing for reading, maybe, but there's not really preparing for reading, and we are asking them to give us independent construction without preparing them enough. So we are kind of short-circuiting these. I say we because I have done it. I have done it many times, and I'm like, oh my God, how many times I've done things that I really didn't show in this way to students. So I have many examples of parents as learners using Reading to Learn. And the first example I want to tell you is about this task that was in the family literacy. When I came to the family literacy, they actually had these task. They had to write a recipe the mothers had to write a recipe in English for a recipe from their country, a chicken recipe from their country. Of course, they are all experts in that. Of course, and this is a global task. They know how to cook. They know what the ingredients are. They know everything. But when they are given a task like this, without enough support, this is what you get. You get this kind of very, very limited text. You know, tacos of chicken breast. I cook chicken breast, cut into pieces, cold taco and cut lettuce in, enjoy. I mean, you're gonna see the difference with later. But what happened here is that this procedural text, there was no preparation, and it's all asking for independent construction. What did another mother do? Another mother said, actually provided the whole recipe in Spanish, which is not appropriate because this is an English class, right? But this is what mothers do when they are asked, when students do when they are asked something that is beyond what Vygotsky says, beyond their zone of proximal development completely. Sure, it was based on very culturally relevant, their countries, their recipes. They are all wonderful cooks, so awesome. But it didn't have the support. So what did I do? What I did was to actually provide for them an example of a recipe, and this procedural text was used as a model for detailed reading, joint construction, and independent writing. Right. So right here we are in preparing for reading. Preparing for reading is telling them, okay, in Spanish, all these. This is when the bilingual guidance comes. They cannot read all this, but they know about this. They know how to cook. So what this preparing for reading was done in their native language, because we know that a lot of their knowledge is encoded in the first language. Then the joint reconstruction of Ropa Vieja was based on the highlighted words. I don't know if you realize here there are highlighted words, and then the students were able to actually write those highlighted words first, and then we jointly reconstructed a text that was really close to that recipe, but that included our own words, our own way of saying that. So this was a joint reconstruction of that text. And this is the comparison between the first procedural text that I just showed you and the second one written with the reading to learn support after just 5 sessions, right? 5 sessions. Look, the teachers the mothers went from the text on the left to the text on the right. This is what one person from Mexico, one of the mothers from Mexico said. I'm just going to read the first part. Filet of chicken breast is a national dish of Mexico with plenty of healthy proteins like sesame and black peppers. Serve filet of chicken breast with black beans and a side of salad. I can ask you, if you like chicken and you want to cook actually a traditional dish from Mexico with chicken, you could actually take this presentation and go and do and follow all that, and then you'll end up with a classic dish from Mexico. But the first one, was like more like a recount of what she does, not really genre appropriate. So this is a very, very big difference, and the key here is that you don't ask the students to do individual construction until you are absolutely sure as a teacher that they are able to do it. So the support is very robust at the very beginning. This is a second example with autobiographical texts. And this is the biographical text from students. As you could imagine, like if any class, like we ask the students, tell us a little bit about yourself, write about yourself, right? Who are you? Where are you from? All this. And these autobiographical text was asked by the teacher because what they wanted, what the teacher wanted was to build, to actually ask the students to write later on a biographical text about a Latino figure in the United States. So she wanted to ask them to write about themselves so that they can then write about a Latino figure in the United States. That was the task. The problem with that task is that the teacher is confused between autobiographical, which is you are writing your own story, your own biography, and biographical texts in which someone else writes it. So she was asking for an autobiographical, but really the task involved a biographical text. So what I did was to create a biographical model text based on the world's, not the world's, but one of the world's best humorists. His name is Cantinflas, and he is by far the most popular, because he died, the most popular humorist in Mexico. And of course, they are from Mexico, Central America, so they all knew about this. They all knew about Cantinflas, but they were not experts on Cantinflas for sure. And certainly they were not experts on model or biographical model texts. So what I did was to create this text for them out of the ideas. And the important thing here also is that you could see on the left that the text is categorized and in phases, and this is what genre pedagogy provides. That knowledge that texts have are written in specific stages, right? So for preparing to read, right here, I did what you do is a lot of the presentation about the text in Spanish, so that there's a context of a shared experience, right? Context, this guidance through interaction in the context of a shared experience. So this is how it actually comes up to be. The preparing to read is very well, but it's done in the native language of the students. And that is very important, because then that gives them a really strong grounding. One of the things that I tell my students, and I will tell you also, is the following. We all say that students come from different backgrounds, from different experiences, from different levels. So how are we supposed to be teaching all of them? Well, you cannot control their backgrounds or their social class or their experiences. But what you can control is the approach that you can have to a text. So I can assure you that these mothers are not fluent in English, but they are more fluent and they know more about Cantinflas in English than all of you know, even if you speak and write academic English very well. So this is my case. My case is you need to actually level all boats high, or like provide the background, and the preparing for reading provides the knowledge base that everybody in the class needs, regardless of their first language, regardless of their of if they are of a lower socioeconomic status or not. You provide that for everybody, and everybody is going to start on a level ground, right, in terms of what they need and what they are looking for. So this is the experience here. This is a paragraph by paragraph explanation of what the text is about, the explanation of the stages and phases of the text, as you could see the stages of the phases and of the text, and are read aloud by the instructor in English. By the instructor. We're not actually focusing on pronunciation or anything like that at this point. Okay, so this is the text, and the preparing for reading. Now it's like, for example, in this case, I am showing you the first sentence is about this and that, and when he was born. So let's just do an exercise with this. So in the first sentence here, between the parentheses, there are two dates. One of the dates is when he was born, and one of the dates was when he died. Can you tell me when he died?
20 April 1993.
Thank you very much, Harney. Very good. Okay, so you could see, and then I can say, okay, let's highlight 20 of April 1993, right? So then let's highlight that. Then the text ends up being highlighted like this with these kind of questions, all of the questions. And then what we actually begin doing is that every single person begins to write those on the board, initially on the board, one by one. So as you could see, there are different sentences, right, or lines. The reason why I asked them to write with different markers is so that you can see that different people came to the board to write that. In second language acquisition and second language learning, we're always talking about the integration of skills, right? Right here, you can hear, because the mother there certainly cannot have her, she has her baby, she cannot have, and I don't allow them to have any writing with them right there. What they are doing is writing from the dictation of their peers. So what are their peers doing? Their peers are actually telling them what to write. That is a listening exercise. That's also a speaking exercise. That's also a reading exercise. And finally, it's also a writing exercise for not only for the person that is on the board, but also for the person that is writing on the notebooks, as you can see in number 3, right? Number 3 there, you have all this. So this is a keywords are highlighted. Students take turns to write keywords on the board, and all students write the words in the notebooks. Words are then grouped into the text stages following the original text. So this is called detailed reading. In joint construction, we actually are writing the same text the same Cantinflas text, but with the help and structure given by words in the original text. Students take turns to reconstruct the original text. So as you can see here, look at the original text. Mario Fontino Alfonso Morenos Reyes, and then when he was born and died, professionally known as Cantinflas. But then what the teacher says, no, let's start with Cantinflas. Okay, so then therefore the syntax is going to change. So Cantinflas, and then we continue. Who was Cantinflas? Was a very celebrated, exactly the same content, but in very different way syntactically. I hope you can understand this. So then they are ready for the independent construction. What did they do? In the independent construction, they were able to write biographical text about Latino figures and personalities like Cesar Chavez, Jorge Ramos, and Sonia Sotomayor. Very, very, very explicitly and very well done. So this is what we do with content literacy, right? But of course, with mothers, we need to be very, very explicit. Harney, can you tell me how are we on time?
Mas Ari?
Okay.
Can you tell me how we are on time?
We have 45 minutes. It's already, I believe you still have 5 minutes, Dr. Ramírez, for the presentation.
How many?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is that for mothers, of course, they need very specific guidelines, right? So their guidelines should be written in their first language so that they understand, first of all. And these guidelines basically guide them through all the steps that they should go with the children, right? So here is the example with Spanish literacy for Spanish native speakers. So you don't have to teach Spanish to the mother because the mother already knows and she is literate. So all you have to do is to teach the mothers, or to give this guide to the mothers so that they are able to follow it, right? So right here, this is a Spanish literacy for Spanish native speakers, and they follow through, and that what she's doing there.
¿En qué situación has trabajado tú en equipo en el colegio?
What she's doing there is just basically activating the knowledge, right? In this case, but this for early years, this is what I wanted to show you. Also, the experience with the mothers was that they, of course, needed to learn this book. So this was a book that is used here in the United States in first grade, second grade, right? So the mothers needed to learn that book first. So I needed to teach them that book. Of course, I taught them using reading to learn, the same idea. So the first period is mothers as learners here, and then the second is mothers as teachers. And this is what I want to show you here. That sorry, I already showed you this. So the idea here with the guidance through multilingual interaction in the context of a shared experience is to actually tell mothers exactly, I'm saying mothers, but mothers and fathers, of course, the idea how to read to kids and what to do first and second and third. That is all in the guides.
Trixie went on an errand with her daddy. Trixie and her daddy went down the block, through the park, past the school.
Okay, one of the things that I want to tell you is that her English is not perfect, but she's absolutely not afraid. And she is, for the first time, in teaching their kids in English. For the first time. She told us, I mean, everybody, all the mothers was telling us that they never thought of having that position to be able to do that. And the only reason was that they tried was because they were experts in that book. Again, they're not experts in English at all, but they are experts in that genre, in that book. They are the mothers. They are the ones that know more. They are the ones that can actually guide the students through all that. Not only that, but they are the ones that can actually guide the literacy activities, right?
Escuchen, miren acá. Who soon passed the school?
Okay, so we already saw that one, and I hope you remember that. But then here it's a little bit more. She continued with the questions.
Ahora, where did go? Where they did go?
School.
Muy bien. Esperanza.
Soon passed the school.
¿Dónde está la palabra escuela? Esperanza. Soon passed the school. Bien,
Tú la
vamos a
cortas.
permitir que ella la corta, claro.
Okay, so the mother was trying to build actually a questioning past, and she was having trouble, but there was this exchange with the kid that was, I mean, she was trying also, the kids are not experts in grammar either, but they were able to figure out what and be functional in that sense. So that's very, very important there. So I wanted to just end that with that. Hopefully you have questions, and I just wanted to provide these appetizer for what is, and of course I have different already different publications that explain all this process step by step. I also have the guides. The guide for the mothers is in English and in Spanish. In English for people like you that might not read Spanish, and also so that you know what was given to the mothers. But my contention is that we could actually, with this kind of proposal, we could actually finally teach mothers or fathers to be teachers, as opposed to simply take for granted that they are the first teachers for their kids. Thank you very much.